Hey folks, Kozzi here, drafting for Pick 1 Pack 1, and if you were just listening to my Elysian Flyers deck that got routinely smashed by a moment of madness, you would have heard me dithering about whether I wanted to play a draft or not, and you know what, let's do it. I'm going to try and make some money back. We're going to be going on a 7-win run here, something amazing, because I've been having a rough run otherwise, primarily at the cost of a lot of madness cards. Alrighty, so this pack, there are a couple of cards that catch my eye. I am a fan of Twilight Raptor, but it's not a game-winning card, it's just a very efficient card. Star for Stories is a great card if you're playing Control, but I don't love playing Control in this format, and Silverwing Familiar is an amazingly resilient threat. It can cause massive problems if left alone. I want to be getting on the front foot and letting out some aggro on my opponents, so we're going to be taking the Silverwing. Next up we have a half-trigger Stranger. Don't like him too much. He's basically a 2-cost quick draw that forces me into not Felnscar. Anyway, into Black-Red. Nesting Avasor is a efficiently costed creature, and Madness is a card that has been nailing me of late, but I don't like it. Knife Jack, I don't like. It's just a 2-2, gets overwhelmed way too quickly. And then, geez, the quality drops off hard, doesn't it? I could try and stick to the colours and take the Fledgling. That's a reasonable card. Or I could just go for cards that potentially open up avenues. And I think the Avasor is that. And I'm not really missing out on too much for picking it. Dark Return is a card that only gets better as the game goes on, and Rebel Sharpshooter is a phenomenal card if I want to be getting aggressive, and I think that's what I'd like to try and do at least. Stormlinks is a great gotcha card, and it goes with the Avasor. Otherwise, I'm probably looking at the Mithril Mace. District Infantry is good if I want to get hyper aggressive, but it does get overwhelmed very quickly. Mithril Mace I don't love. Stormlinks is actually a good card, but I'm very much forcing into an archetype. Geez, these packs have been weak. I think Mace is the go. And Renegade Valkyrie now makes me start to want to commit. That's a card that if I can get some equipment on it, we have a proactive game plan. We have flyers that are unusual for these particular colours. And yeah, we have something interesting to do. Elysian Pathfinder is a good card, and that's going way too late for what it is. Stormlinks is still good, but I have a choice between the 5-drop and the 3-drop. I like the Evasion better than the Treasury Guard, although I am representing my top end of my curve pretty effectively, but I'd never be unhappy to have a Fledgling in here. And yeah, we'll take the Fighter. It works for the plan of trying to get aggro on. It's possible that we'll be splashing for a combust, but relatively unlikely. And now all I really want to do is get my curve down nice and low and have some pretty amazing burn to help me out. That Obliterate is phenomenal. Gunsmith is only really good if you have a series of infiltrate creatures, or if you have a huge number of tokens. I have neither, so instead I think we'll take the Execute with the intention of splashing. The Oryx Sentry is by far the best card for us here, and the Finest Hour is an amazing combat trick that I'm very happy to put in my deck. It's worth noting that I feel as though these packs, you can just see how many film color cards are here, so I feel as though I'm getting cut a little bit, but so long as we still have 1 or 2 cards to pick a pack, then I'm okay with that. Do I look at a second Execute? Or Rakano Stranger? This has the higher upside for the time being. If there was no opportunity cost, I'd be looking at other things. Yeah, none of this is going in my deck. And yeah, we're definitely getting cut a bit heading in this direction. The quality of our other stuff has just been too strong. Have a choice between the Ronin and the Sword of Icaria. I think the Sword is probably stronger for us. The Ronin does allow us to get off to a great start, but we don't have any equipment. We do have another chance of seeing them. Warhelm's only a good card if we're hyper aggressive. Wow, look at all this feln. And this isn't a case of me being cut. This is just a case of the packs being stacked in that direction. Do we have Amazing Fire? Because otherwise I could look at going into, is it Huru that is the green-black? The Inspire is not an opportunity cost for looking at this way, although the Torch is. Okay. So that makes up my mind pretty clearly. Sword of Akari is a great card I want in my deck. And I'm not unhappy to have a Grenadin Drone just to have something cheap and quick. I'm getting a little bit nervous if I have this many of them. Although if I do have a bunch of Grenadin Drones, Rally all of a sudden becomes a card that I'm interested in. Wow, 3 Sword of Icarius. If we can get that going, that's going to be very hard for opponents to be able to do anything. A Steel Fang Chakram as well. Sure. And an Auric Runehammer as well. Sure. We're getting a little bit stacked higher up, but Avenger's probably the best option for me there. What I'd really like is another couple of 2-drops, something nice and cheap to keep my curve low. Temper is an adequate piece of removal. We're not in Feln. We're getting cut again, but fortunately the Stone Sky banner allows me to think about splashing. The Grenadin's the only thing I'm realistically going to play out of that. Oh, this is all rubbish. Whilst it's not a 2-drop, it is a cheap creature. And I think that the Armor Smith, it's an unusual card, but I actually think it works in this deck because I have so many weapons. So I'm a little bit nervous. I didn't get quite as many 2-drops as I would have liked to have had. That much is certain. But we've got an interesting deck lined up. Interesting deck indeed. So we have access to the executes if we want them. We're topping out at 5 and we have a couple of 5s. So we're going to be wanting a bit of fixing to help out. I'm just getting rid of the obviously weak stuff. So how are we going? We have 1, 3, 4, 5 2-drops and most of them are rubbish. Probably don't want a pair of Dazes, so we don't have a huge amount of fixing. So that's what, 14, 16. We need more than that. 16, 18, seeming about right. Oh, plus the Stone Scar banner. So that's 8, 16, 18. The Chakram does good work with a lot of our creatures. It turns them into reasonable threats. Sword of Icaria is fantastic and it's going to be our primary form of removal. I don't think we can afford to have a pair of executes. Indeed, it might just be that it's too greedy to have any. I think I'd rather just make sure that I can curve out with this deck. Might be that we don't really need the Mithril Mace either. I'd love to possibly go down to 17 power, but I feel as though I'm so heavily reliant on getting my 3 and 4 drops out. It's just that lack of 2s has me terrified. I think given that I have the Chakram, I probably do want that Brawler. Probably want it over the combat trick. The reality is I'm going to be winning this game through weapons. Yeah, right. Looks sweet. If I had 2 drops, I'd be happy. As is, a little bit nervous, but we'll see how we go. Cool, folks. Kozzi drafting for Pick 1, Pack 1. Nice to get to some Rakano roots and see how they go. I look forward to seeing you guys in just a moment.